Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Titira Sata Shri Śrimad Jidandi Goswami Shlesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Titira Sata Shri Śrimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantharaj Śrimad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, first, perhaps I'll introduce myself, because I see some new faces here. I hope to get to know you. My name is Pancaratna Das. I joined ISKCON in 1970, first in Canada, then Buffalo, and then I came here to New York in 1971. And in 1971, I was graciously, mercifully accepted by Srila Prabhupada as his disciple. He gave me the name, Pancaratna Das. I'm still learning what it means. It means 5 jewels, but what are those 5 jewels? Anyhow, that's another long story. But I was here in 1972 when Shri Shri Radha Govinda came, participated in their installation, and was involved in so many different services here in New York until in 1976, I helped the devotees. I was one of the team that acquired and moved us into the 55th Street property in Manhattan. But then in 1976, I went to Mayapur and got swept up into the management there. I'll give you a little story though, because this is a New York story. So I got to Mayapur, and I had gone in advance because the plan was, since I was involved in the management of ISKCON in New York, that I would go for my pilgrimage a little early, and then I would come back so that I could take care of affairs while the main body of devotees went for the festival. So I was there like 2 weeks before the festival, and they needed a lot of help. There was very few devotees there to help organize the festival, so I was engaged in the festival management. And by the time that the New York devotees came, I was doing so much. So the Mayapur management requested the new New York leader, which was Madhavisa Prabhu. He had just been given that service. So since he was, and they approached him and said, can you let Pancaratna stay in Mayapur? We really, really need help. So he said, well, I'm new in this job, so to speak, this service. We'll have to ask Srila Prabhupada. So, coming to the point, we went there to Srila Prabhupada's quarters, and there was some conversation about Mayapur needing to be an ideal place. But then Madhavisa Prabhu Maharaj at the time began. He said, well, Srila Prabhupada, we understand that Mayapur is your most important project. Srila Prabhupada stopped. No, New York is my most important project. Okay? So here in New York, we have a big responsibility. Anyway, he went on to say, well, okay. And I stayed in Mayapur. And I've been serving in Mayapur from that time, 1976, until now, and in various capacities. I've spent time, my wife and I met and married there in 1980. So we're going on now 43 years. We've raised children in Mayapur. We also spent time in Alachua, Florida. But in 2019, when I'd heard that my good friend, old friend, Hansarupa, who was, we were served together in Henry Street and then in 55th Street, and also in India, although he was in Vrindavan, but for some time he also helped in Mayapur, had taken on the responsibility, and things were, there was a new era coming. My wife and I decided, let's try to give about 6 months a year here to the service of Shri Shri Radha Govinda. So we've just returned from our Mayapur segment, and we're looking forward to getting to know the new faces here, and see a few, and to being with you and to helping in whatever way we can the service of Shri Shri Radha Govinda and Srila Prabhupada here in New York, the capital of the world. Okay? This world. Not this planet. We have a great responsibility to... I often think that the health of our movement in terms of its robustness and thriving can be especially measured by 2 places, Mayapur and New York. So if we can make New York come back, both my wife, by the way, I didn't mention, Tita Guna also served here in New York. She served from 1978 till 1979, 80, like that, distributing Srila Prabhupada's books in massive quantities. She was one of the airport ladies who went out every day and distributed huge numbers of books for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada and the mission of ISKCON. How many, in 55th Street, we went up to about 200 something devotees. There was about 200 devotees living in the temple then. So we have to catch up and go beyond what we had achieved in 1976, 77, 78. Perhaps not in one place, because it's not so easy. That's one of the difficulties there in 55th Street, is that householders and so on found it difficult. But as a whole, let's make New York thrive and make New York great again. Okay, we can make a slogan, a hat, MNGA, and Nika. Anyway, thank you very much. Now, Bhagavatam. And not only Bhagavatam, but today is a special day. Many specialties of the day. This is, we have the Balaram Rasa Yatra. We can talk about that. We have the appearance of Shyamananda Prabhu and the disappearance, I think, of Vamsivardhan Thakur. But let's first read our verse for the Bhagavatam. By the way, you may see that we do go out from New York from time to time, because we have 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren living in Connecticut. So we visit them on the weekends and like that. So, Hare Krishna. Did Om Namo Bhagavate? Yes, we did. Atapi prichetam vira yadartam tvam ihagataha tadvayam nirvyalikena pratipadyamahe vrida. Atapi prichetam vira yadartam tam ihagataho tadvayam nirvyalikena pratipadyamahe vrida. Others? Atapi prichetam vira Ladies? Atapi prichetam vira yadartam tam ihagataha tadvayam nirvyalikena Pratipadyamahe Hridha. Yatapi prichte tvam vira yadartam tam vihagata tadvayam nirvyalikena pratipadyamahe Hridha. Ata api. In spite of all this, prichte, I ask, tvam, you, vira, O valiant king, yadartam, the purpose, tvam, you, iha, here, agataha, have come, tat, that, vayam, we, nirvyalikena, without reservation, pratipadyamahe, we shall carry out, Hridha, with heart and soul. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In spite of all this, I ask you, O valiant king, the purpose for which you have come here, whatever it may be, we shall carry it out without reservation. Purport. When a guest comes to a friend's house, it is understood that there is some special purpose. Kardama Muni could understand that such a great king as Swayambhuva, although traveling to inspect the condition of his kingdom, must have had some special purpose to come to his hermitage. Thus, he prepared himself to fulfill the king's desire. Formerly, it was customary that the sages used to go to the kings, and the kings used to visit the sages in their hermitages. Each was glad to fulfill the other's purpose. This reciprocal relationship is called bhakti karya. There's a nice verse describing the relationship of mutual beneficial interest between the Brahman and the Kshatriya. Kshatram dvijatvam. Kshatram means the royal order, and dvijatvam means the Brahminical order. The two were meant for mutual interest. The royal order would give protection to the Brahmins for the cultivation of spiritual advancement in society, and the Brahmins would give their valuable instruction to the royal order on how the state and the citizens can gradually be elevated in spiritual perfection. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 21st chapter of the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, entitled Conversation Between Manu and Kardama. Om Agyanata Brandasya Gyananjana Shaklaya Chukshunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Makam Karoti Vachalam Bangalai Giti Shri Gurundi Natalinam Madhavam Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishvara. Hare Krishna. The theme of this purport I find very, very, very important in terms of our understanding what Varnashrama really is all about. We know that Varnashrama Dharma, and we say Daiva Varnashrama Dharma particularly, and let's get into why and what makes Varnashrama Daiva, is one of the missions to establish or to reestablish, to bring this Dharma into society, was a mission that Srila Prabhupada felt was practically, he once said 50%. You know, he gave those kinds of references. So whatever the percentage, no doubt that it is very important. Prabhupada speaks so much of it. But often I feel that we miss the forest for the trees when it comes to thinking about varnashrama. We get distracted by different details. We get distracted by the terminology of varnas and ashrams. And we miss the core principles of what varnashram is meant to achieve. This verse points to, I believe, the most essential principle of varnashram, bhakti karya. Cooperation, mutual beneficial service. The whole idea of varnashram is to work in different ways according to different kinds of abilities and interests and proclivities, but all for one purpose: the satisfaction of God. For cooperative work, the recognition in varnashram is that we are not all equal. We are different, every one of us. We have our different natures. To begin with, we have gender-specific natures generally, although that's not a universal rule, that everyone in a particular gender will have the qualities that are generally expressed in a particular gender. Just yesterday, I was with my sister, who is, she's a feminist in many ways, I have to say that. But we were talking about our family, and we were talking about, particularly, unfortunately, we lost our brother, one of our brothers. We're five in the family, and 5 children. And I'm the oldest, and the next one, my next one, he passed away last October. And she was talking about how she found herself in the position that she would always have to initiate the connections with her brothers and so on. They didn't reach out to her. She would initiate. And she was thinking about it, and she said, I ascribe this to my nature as a girl. She said, as a girl. Because I'm a girl, there's a natural tendency to reach out, to nurture, to want to care for others in women in general. And that nature, and even though she was a feminist, she was still, accepting that there are different natures. So there are different natures in all of us. And accordingly, there are different kinds of work. And according to the kinds of work there are different kinds of dharma. There are different kinds of responsibilities and duties that are connected to that particular kind of work. And the fundamental principle is mutual benefit. Service to each other. And this is brought out here. That the Brahmins, they sought to serve the other sections of society. Everyone. The Kshatriyas, they wanted to serve society. The Vaishyas serve society. And Sudras, everyone is in service. The principle of service, regardless of the specifics of one's occupational position, everyone in a true varnashram system, Daiva varnashram system, sees themselves as a servant. Service. Because that is the real dharma. That is the fundamental dharma. The Sanatan dharma of everyone is service, to be a servant. So here we can see the example of this. And all the connections, all the relationships, all the interactions are centered around how to magnify, how to expand service. How to perfect service. An element of that service for the Kshatriya service is protection. To protect the others,
so that they can do their service, to give protection, to give support, so that other members of society, they can serve. The Vaishyas, they produce. And if they're true Vaishyas, first of all, they serve cows, they serve the land, they serve Bhumi Devi. They serve the planet, the environment. A real Vaishya would be in the front of any sort of environmental movement because that's their service, to serve the environment and make it hospitable for everyone else, and to bring forth from that environment the production needed for the rest of society to thrive. So the Vaishyas serve in this way. The Brahmins serve by guidance and support of people's mental and spiritual health, helping them arrange their marriages. Like my wife is an astrologer, so I shouldn't say that. Now everyone's going to come and go, I'm going to. So, but she does it as a service. How to help people in their lives by understanding certain aspects. So the Brahmins, they serve, and the Kshatriyas, they serve, the Vaishyas, they serve, and the Sudras, they serve everyone. They don't perhaps have any specific, so they just engage in service to everyone in society. So this principle, this fundamental principle of service, cooperation, mutual benefit, bhakti karya. This is actually the core of a Daiva Varnashram system. And of course, where is the service oriented? What is the ultimate beneficiary for all of the service? Is the satisfaction of Krishna, Radha Govinda. So I thought that was a very significant point from this purport. But since we have limited time, and there's so much to also speak about, I'll try to go kind of in the order that's, Balaram Rasa Yatra, then Shyamananda, and then Vamsivanand Thakur. We just arrived yesterday from India via Japan. So we stopped in Tokyo for 8 days and stayed at the temple there and got to associate with the Japanese devotees and had a just extraordinarily wonderful time with them. Got to see a bit of Japan, Japanese culture. Very different, very different. Although Tokyo City is practically the same size as New York City, but it doesn't look the same. It's clean. Whoa, is it clean? Very clean. And orderly and systematic and efficient. Just to give you an example, on the metro system, they have an extensive metro system like New York. So you go into the station. There's one board that describes each stop on that particular train, and it describes which car in that train will get you quickest to where you want to go to your next train or your next destination, right? So you look at the chart and say, okay, I want to do this, I want to go here. And then all the gates have automatic, closures so that drunk people don't fall into the tracks like they do in New York. How many drunks get killed every year on the tracks of New York City? I don't know. It's not a small number. So they have a system that opens up exactly where the door is, and you go in, and they're all numbered. And so, okay, I want to get off at so-and-so, so I should get on car number 6. And each station is not only named, but numbered, right? So if you don't, okay, we need to go from on the S line, we needed to go from S17 to S2. And instead of having to remember the names of the stations, we just remember the numbers. Okay, I got it to 17 and S. Tokyo. Not Boston. Forget Boston. Tokyo. Yeah, they're so efficient. Anyway, it's another kind of world. But they're also one, they're Japanese. They're very kind of insular in that way. So anyhow, I didn't have time to prepare. The point was that I didn't have time to prepare much. So I will share, first of all, the Balaram Rasayatra. So there's not a lot of mention of this in the Bhagavatam. Whereas Krishna's Rasalila is chapters and chapters. Balaram's Rasalila is one sentence, basically. But there's, and in Krishna book, there's just one short mention. The mention of Balaram's rasa dancing is there in the 10th canto, chapter 65, verse 17. So this takes place, this is, Krishna and Balaram have already left Vrindavan, they have gone to Mathura, and now they're already, as far as I can understand by the chronology here, they're already in Dwarka. But whereas Krishna has not yet fulfilled his promise of returning to Vrindavan, Balaram takes the initiative, and he goes. He goes to Vrindavan. And there's a whole series of interactions before this particular verse of Balaram interacting with Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda and so on. And Krishna's gopis as well. But this verse says that Lord Balaram, the personality of Godhead, resided there for the 2 months of Madhu and Madhava. So I suppose we're now in that, the first, yes. Madhu is the first month of the Vedic calendar at the time of the spring equinox, so that's just happened. And Madhavam is the second month, so we're now in that same springtime period in Vraj at that time. And during the nights, he gave his cowherd girlfriends conjugal pleasure. The purport here, this is by our godbrothers. Srila Sridhar Swami states that the gopis who enjoyed conjugal affairs with Sri Balaram during his visit to Gokul had not taken part in Sri Krishna's rasa dance, being too young at the time. Srila Jiva Goswami confirms this statement by quoting a phrase from the Bhagavatam 10.15.8, Gopyontarena bhujayo, which indicates that there are particular gopis who act as Lord Balaram's girlfriends. Furthermore, Jiva Goswami states that during the holy festivities celebrated when Krishna killed Shankachuda, Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda, the gopis Lord Balaram enjoyed were different from the ones Lord Krishna enjoyed with. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti agrees with this explanation. So this is an important point for us as Gaudiya Vaishnavas following in the line of Rupa Goswami to understand in terms of rasa. Sri Rupa is the propounder, the scientist of rasa, and outlines rasa. And rasa is very, the science of rasa is fundamental to understanding and entering into the pastimes of Krishna. We're being trained now in our devotional life to understand more and more the principles of rasa, of relationship between Krishna and his devotees. And to avoid rasabas. You've heard that term? Rasabas. Okay, wrong mix. Salt in the sweet rice. No, we don't want that. We don't want salt, and what's supposed to be sweet should not. Of course, sometimes there's some things that you can mix salt and sweetness together if you know how to do it. But you have to know how to do it. And if you don't do it the right way, you get rasabas. So for Balaram to enjoy with Krishna's girlfriends, that's absolutely rasabas. That can't happen. That would completely that would turn the whole thing into a mundane affair. Just, girls being, loose or something like that. And okay, here's Krishna, he's, let's go with him tonight, and then, okay, Balaram, let's go with... That would be absolutely inconceivable in the rasa between Krishna and the gopis. So, it's fundamental to understand that Balaram, his rasa dance, is with other gopis, not with the gopis who dance with Krishna. Here it's explained that these were gopis who were too young at the time. But there were also gopis at the time of the killing of Shankachura, where those gopis, this is the time of Vrajalila, that they were also specifically Balaram's girlfriends. Balaram has his own girlfriends. But his rasa is somewhat different because, as we know, Balaram has a relationship with Krishna in which he's always seeking to serve Krishna. There are times when Krishna is with his gopi girlfriends, and Balaram will just, move to the side, just let him be. So Balaram's Rasa Leela is somewhat different. It's a bit mysterious to enter into. And what happens after this with Varuni and so on and his intoxication. Balaram can be mysterious, whether he is in his Leela as Balaram or in his Leela as Nitai, Nityananda. In that Leela, he also does some very extraordinary things that are hard to understand. Walking around naked sometimes. I forgot. Therefore we say in our prayer, Vandeham Shri Guru, Sadvaitam Savadutam, that we address Sri Nityananda as Avaduta, because he sometimes transcends ordinary expectations of society. So this is a little to understand about Balaram's rasa dance. Now Shamananda, we could spend the whole time on speaking about Shamananda, but we'll give a little bit about Shamananda. As I said, I didn't have time to absorb all of this, so I'm going to go to ISKCON Desire Tree, which is, as the title aptly describes, a place where you can find pretty much everything you might like to find in terms of histories and various kinds of information, all audios and everything. It is a true desire tree for the devotees. And part of it is a section that describes the various acharyas. And Shamananda has a very nice section there. Just briefly, he was born in Utkala. Now, that is in Utkala here. It refers to Orissa. He was born in Orissa. Most of our acharyas, especially contemporary with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, were born in Bengal and either west or east. But he's born in Orissa, and he returns to Orissa later on and becomes really influential there. So he as a very young boy there were his father had many sons and daughters, but they had all passed away, and therefore his father called him Duki. Duki. This is a tradition in Bengal and I guess I don't know in India in general, but to protect someone from misfortune, you give them a name which is misfortunate. So you call them Duki, and somehow by giving him or her the name Duki, then, and there's a few incidents you'll see this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There was a girl, I think, named Duki, became Suki. Anyway, I don't remember all the history. But so this is sort of a way to ward off the sadness. So he was called Duki. And he was predicted that he would be a Mahapurush. He was extraordinarily beautiful. He went to school. But when he heard the glories of Chaitanya and Nityananda, he wanted to go. He wanted to go. So he expressed to his father that Hriday Chaitanya, who lives in Ambika Kalna, is his guru. His guru is Gauridas Pandit. These and their brothers, those two, they're not brothers, I'm sorry, they're connected. Those two great brothers, Sri Gora and Nityananda, always reside in his home. If you give the order, I will go to him and become his disciples. But remember, he's living in Orissa. And Ambika Kalna is like, 20 minutes from Mayapur. It's way away. So his father said, how are you going to get there? And he's saying, well, many people will go to bathe in the Ganges there. I'll go with them. So after some time, he gives permission. And he goes, he meets Hriday Chaitanya. Hriday Chaitanya asks, who are you? And Duki said, I want to render service to you, so on and so forth. And now he becomes Krishna Das. So from that day on, so now he's Krishna Das, and he's serving Hriday Chaitanya. He becomes very absorbed. Then he's ordered to go to Vrindavan to serve Jiva Goswami. So he leaves, he goes to Vrindavan, and Hriday Chaitanya gave some many messages. Now he's Duki Krishna Das. He goes to Navadvip. He finds Ishan Thakur. Ishan Thakur blesses him as well. Anyway, he goes to Gaya. He has a wonderful journey to Vrindavan. So he finally arrives at Jiva Goswami's Bhajan Kutir, and he tells him everything, and he begins studying under Jiva. Now, Krishnadas prayed for service that would bring him closer to Jiva. So Jiva gave him the service. Every day you must draw some water from the Kanan Kunj. Now Kanan Kunj, I believe, is the same as Seva Kunj. I'm not sure about that. Anyone know? Because I think it's, as far as I know, it's Seva Kunj in which the rest of this takes place. So he brings water, and every day he would chant in kirtan and so on. And he continues in drawing this water, and he was just really wonderful. One day, and this is this extraordinary pastime, one day, Krishnadas was performing his duty, fully absorbed in Krishna Prema, and at the time he saw in the water beneath his pot a wonderfully shining bangle, an anklet. He was astonished. He reached his hand, he pulled out this bangle, touching it to his head, he felt a wave of transcendental ecstasy. Then finding a piece of cloth that appeared to be the border of a woman's top piece, scarf, attached to the bangle, he thought, I should find the owner of this bangle. In that place, that very morning, seeing the bangle from the left foot of Sri Radha was missing, her gopi friends were dumbstruck. Radha said, last night, while I was dancing with Krishna by the side of the Kunj, the bangle must have fallen in the Kunj. Go there, and after finding it, bring it to me. Vishaka went to the banks of the Kunj and began searching. As she was searching, she came upon Dukhi Krishnadas, who was filling his water pot. Vishaka asked him, have you found a bangle near here? Dukhi, seeing this beautiful girl who appeared to be a goddess from heaven, was dazzled in hearing her words. He was dumbstruck. Have you found a bangle near here? Dukhi bowed down and said, yes, I have it. Please tell me, who are you? Vishaka, I'm the daughter of a Gopa. Where do you live? Oh, I live in this village. Is this bangle yours? No, it's not mine. At my house, there's a newly married girl. How was it lost here? Well, yesterday, when she was picking flowers here at the Kunj, it somehow slipped off her foot. She lost her bangle in the water. I've come here to find her bangle. Wait here, and I will bring her to you. A little while later, Radha Thakurani came with Vishaka and hid behind a tree. Vishaka said, Oh, devotee, she's come for her bangle. Dukhi Krishnadas could see the brilliant effulgence of the daughter of King Vrishabhanu and felt as if his soul had been stolen from his body. He gave the bangle to Vishaka Devi. At that time, he had some intuition that a great mystery was being revealed to him. His eyes filled with tears. He fell down, his voice choked. And Vishaka said, Oh, best of the devotees, my girlfriend would very much like to show her gratitude by granting you a benediction. You may ask for whatever you want. Dukhi Krishnadas replied, There's nothing that I want. I only pray to take the dust of her lotus feet. Vishaka replied, Take a bath in this Kund. Dukhi Krishnadas went to bathe in the Kund. He offered his obeisances, and then, when he immersed himself in the water, he assumed the form of a beautiful girl. Returning to Vishaka, Krishnadas offered respects to her. Vishaka Devi brought this new gopi to Sri Radha. The new gopi offered her obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of Radha, and the Sakhis seated the new gopi in their midst, and at that time Sri Radha applied some kumkum to the bangle and made a tilak mark on the head of the new gopi, saying, "This tilak must remain on your forehead, and from this day on, your name will be Shyamananda. Now go." At this, Radha Thakurani, along with all her gopi friends, vanished. Dukhi Krishnadasa's samadhi broke. But in the water, he could see in his reflection the tilak mark the bangle had left on his forehead. Whoa, 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 whoa. He goes back to Jiva. And Jiva sees this. And he relates the whole story. Jiva was overwhelmed. Look, he was overwhelmed with happiness to see the fortune. This is a true devotee who's overwhelmed with the happiness of another's advancement. We have to learn this. Bhatti said, don't reveal this miracle to the people in general. But go on as Shyamananda. But then everyone began to talk. So he's got a new name, he's got a new tilak, and the word gets back to Ambika Kalna. And Hriday Chaitanya hears about this, and he's getting angry. This has happened in our movement where, and boy, I'm way, it's already 9 o'clock. What do I do? Finish? Okay. Do I have permission, Gopal Champu? You're an authority. 5 minutes. All right, I'll try to finish up in 5 minutes. You'll have to read about Vamsivadan Thakur later. But let's finish this one, because we got to get to at least this story. Okay. So Hriday Chaitanya was so upset with Dukhi Krishnadas to him that he went to Vrindavan. He went to Vrindavan to chastise his disciple. He came to him. He saw this tilak, this new tilak, different tilak. It was not the tilak that normally, we all wear. There's a picture of it in this, if you can see it. It's a little like this. It's got a little dot in it. It's different. I said, "What are you doing? You're disgracing me as your guru." And he chastised him. And he struck him. He said, You're nonsense. Everyone tried to pacify, but Hriday Chaitanya was so upset. And then, at night, Hriday Chaitanya gets a dream. Dreams are often used by Krishna to let us know when we get off. And Radha came and scolded Hriday Chaitanya, said, "He's pleased me. I've given him this name and tilak. Why are you instructing him differently?" So Hriday Chaitanya realized, prayed for forgiveness, and from that day on, Shyamananda. So Shyamananda Prabhu, just to finish, you can read more about it, but we owe a great, great debt to Shyamananda, who was one of the triumvirate, you could call it, the three great souls, Shyamananda, Srinivas, and Narottam. They became very, very close. And finally, they were entrusted by Jiva Goswami to carry the Goswami's literature to the rest of the world. And there's a long story about that. But today, if you have time, you can read about Shyamananda more. Ultimately, Shyamananda returned to Orissa, was preaching everywhere. His preaching was so extraordinary. To this day, the devotees, the Vaishnavas of Orissa, they glorify and remember Shyamananda. So these devotees, these are the devotees that our sampradaya is founded on. What company we're in. Just think of it. What kind of company we're in. Devotees like this, who Sri Radha herself comes to. So, we'll end there. And you'll have time to hear more. And we can reflect on the great, great fortune that Srila Prabhupada has brought to us. He has come here from Vrindavan. He came to offer us entrance into this community of devotees that with so many amazing personalities. And today too, we look around and see such great devotees. So we're all in very, very good company. Let's stay in this company. Let's remain as a community. Let's build our community. Let's follow in the footsteps of all of these great souls. See the happiness in the devotees and be happy and work together to serve together the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prithivite ache jatanagarari gram sarvatra prachar hoyibe mora na. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Waterbury, Connecticut. Huh? Waterbury, Connecticut. Oh. My brother passed away. Oh. He had kind of lost touch. What's his name? Niskinchana. Trinidad.
That's nothing. I knew of another Nishkinchana from LA.
So he had lost touch, and he went into he had cancer, and he went into like a coma. Before he went into a comatose state, he told his family, well, none of you devotees, I want the devotees to come and do my last rites. So I was just thinking, it was really nice. I was like, Krishna's still at that. So after he left his body, I went from garland till CDs. But I was chanting in the nursing home.